Welcome to Chapter 7 in Business 110, Organizational Structures. This is all about how you can organize your company. And as we learned in Chapter 6, organizing is one of the 4 functions of management: planning, leading, organizing, and controlling. So this is all about organizing. So we're going to start with the traditional type of organization in a company. Most of you are familiar with this. It's a pyramid. There's the CEO at the very top. Under him would be like the chief financial officer, the chief information officer, the chief operating officer, what they call the C, as in the letter C, which stands for chief suite, the C-suite. And then from there it kind of branches down. And what we're going to talk about under this chapter is how does it branch down. So for the traditional pyramid, we're going to say this chief executive officer is on the top. Now, you can branch it down by the different functions, and this is probably what you see the most. So you would have maybe shipping and receiving. You would have manufacturing. You would have accounting. You would have payroll. Those are the functions that the company has, and the people that perform those functions all work together. There's a lot to be said for this type of organization. There's very little overlap. I mean, you don't have accountants working in shipping and receiving. They're all working in the accounting department. That being said, there are some downsides to the traditional functional pyramid style organization in that you can become a silo, and I'm in the accountant department. I don't care what you're doing in shipping and receiving. That's not my problem. And in actuality, you all work for the same company. So anything that's a problem in one department may be a problem in another department, or should be. So it's easy to get that silo effect. So one of the ways that you can organize a company is by function. Another way that you can organize a company is by product. So think about like Procter & Gamble. Procter & Gamble makes thousands of products. So you may have toothpaste as one of your products. You may have baby items as one of your products. You may have, what else? Detergents. So your pyramid would be at the top of it, other than the CEO, would be the products that you make. And then it would go down from there. Now the problem with this is that there would be a shipping and receiving for baby items, a shipping and receiving for toothpaste, a shipping and receiving for detergents. So there's some overlap there. But when you have such a big company, this may make sense that you kind of split it in and it's organized by the products they make. Another way is by the processes. You see this a lot for like drilling, like oil. There may be obviously the CEO, and then under that might be the people that drill for the oil, the people that, what am I trying to say, when they clean it up, they make it ready, refine, that's the word, refinery. So you might have drilling, you might have refining, you might have transporting the oil. So it's the process, it's the drilling and the refining and the transportation that would be the way you organize your company. Another way is by the customer, the end user. And this kind of makes sense if you think about it. I want you to think about building a building. Think about building a skyscraper in Charlotte and a 2-bedroom house in Statesville. There are some things that are going to be the same. I mean, a hammer is a hammer, but there's a lot that isn't going to be the same. So for the residential builder, that would be one department. For the industrial skyscraper builder, that would be another department. So, and then maybe in the middle would be someone that builds like strip malls or big grocery stores or something like that. So you would have residential, commercial, and then industry. Skyscrapers, any kind of manufacturing plant, that kind of stuff. So that you can set, or you can organize your company by the type of customer, the end customer. And then by geography. And we also know this kind of instinctively, that different parts of just the United States, forget the world, but just the United States, different parts have different tastes. So maybe in the Southeast, you have sweet tea. Maybe in the Northwest, you have unsweet tea, but sweet coffee. So you may just divide the United States into Northeast, Southeast, Midwest, Southwest, and Pacific Northwest. So see, you can divide it up by geography. Now there are some things that are sold, the same, but even just food, think about the different food tastes. So somebody that wants to sell food to different types of tastes would divide up the United States geographically. So CEO, and then you would have all these different geographic. So I hope that makes sense. So you still have the traditional pyramid, but it's by function, product, process, customer, and geography. Now I want to talk just a second, because your book mentions it, the line and staff organization. And if you've ever seen an organizational chart, most of them are built like this, where you have the CEO and then you have the C-suite, and then off to a line is going to be the staff positions. Typically it's administrative assistant. So the administrative assistant is there to support, let's say, the chief financial officer, but they don't have any authority. They're just there to support. And then you keep going down, and maybe the district manager might have a support person, an administrative assistant. Or maybe the chief operating officer has a lawyer that supports him. So a line and staff organization, that is literally all it means, is that the line people going down the organizational chart are the ones that have the authority. The staff people are there to support and typically don't have legitimate power. Now that doesn't mean they don't have some kind of referent power, but typically they don't have any legitimate power in the organization. So everybody can kind of sort of get the idea of the traditional pyramids. Now let's move to contemporary structures. Matrix. I gotta tell you, y'all, I've heard about the matrix organizational structure since I was in college in the mid-80s. That's how old I am, okay? To this day, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. You take two different types of organizations and put them together. So as an example, let's say that there's a special project that needs to get done. So you're still going to be a member of the accounting department, and the head of the accounting department is still your boss. But now you're going to be on this project management team, and the head of the project management team is also your boss. So you have two bosses. And while you're an accountant, you're working on this special project. So a lot of people are all in on this matrix organization. Your book does an okay job of explaining it. I'll be honest with you, I'm really not sure how it works in reality. I mean, I can read it in the book. I've never worked in one, and it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Why would you pull somebody and put them on a special team but still make them accountable to a boss that they're not working for right now? Why don't you just make it a special group and get rid of the other obligations they have? So anyway, I'm editorializing, but matrix structure. A committee structure. A lot of people like this. I've worked in a committee structure. Again, you ever seen a committee try to make a decision? If you have people that are engaged and really want the company to succeed, a committee structure works. But instead of having one person in charge, now you have a group in charge. Good luck with that. And then the last thing, kind of the contemporary structure I want to talk about, is work group versus work team. And you would think it's the same thing, but it really isn't. A work group are people that come together to get work done, but they're still meeting their own goals. A work team has their own goals as a team. So a work group is you're all working together, but you're still meeting your own individual goals. Teams have their own goals. And typically, if it's a good team, and let me make sure you heard that, if it's a good team, then there's something called synergy, which means the team can actually do better than the sum of everyone added together. So let's say everybody was a 2 and you had 4 people. Instead of an 8, it would be a 10, because everybody working together can create a better project than what just the 4 people could on their own and add it up. So a lot of people like work teams. The problem with work teams, and you'll hear this throughout, is that you gotta have motivated employees. There's always the shirker, right? If you've had team projects in school, you know what I'm talking about. So a few things to talk about just in organizational structures in general. The managerial hierarchy. And this is true whether it's a pyramid or whether it's a flat organization. You have to have a chain of command. First, you start with your boss. If that doesn't work, you go to your boss's boss. If that doesn't work, you go to your boss's boss's boss, okay? So there has to be some way that employees know who is the boss and then who's the boss of the boss. Then there has to be authority. And this is really where it gets kind of, we talked about authority and power in chapter 6. Does the person in that position have the authority? There's nothing worse than having the responsibility but not having the authority. That's setting somebody up to fail. So if you can't hire and fire as a manager, then what are you doing, right? Span of control. How many people do you have under you? Is it 2 or is it 200? And there's different ways to manage depending on the span of control. And then centralization versus decentralization. Is there just a few higher ups that make all of the decisions? Or are the decisions pushed down in the organization to where people closer to the work are making the decisions? Now, there's not a good one or a bad one. It's just the way things are organized. Some people like the decentralization. Some people say, I want to go to work. I want to put part A into slot B. Leave me alone. So, you know, it just depends on your personality and what you like to work with. And then finally, mechanistic versus organic. And the book kind of makes it sound like, you know, organic. It's so fun and it's so wholesome. But really all it means is that an organic organization means that there's not a lot of job titles. Usually people can do lots of different things. It's a flat organization that has a short chain of command. I think of a lot of startups like this, with organic, in that everybody has to do everything because we can't afford to hire a lot of people. So, you know, it's just us 10, but we're going to do it. Where the opposite of that is the organization that has a high degree of centralization, and they have all kinds of job descriptions and job specs, and you kind of know what you're doing, and you're going to do the same thing day in and day out. So that's kind of the difference there. So I hope that gives you a better idea of organizational structure. If you need anything, let me know.